I think this was probably the worst kept secret in English cricket. There were talks apparently that were had over the weekend, crisis talks you could call them, where the future of the England white ball team would be discussed. Now, a lot of pressure has come on the head of Jos Buttler, a lot on Matthew Mott, but Mott being the one to stand down or be sacked as it is. So I don't think this is any surprise. The performances, as you mentioned, in the One-Day International World Cup over in India and the T20 World Cup left a lot to be deceived. It seemed... in the T20 World Cup, yes, they got to the semi-finals, but the performances, when you take a look at it, they weren't that good. So no real surprise, I think, to anyone.
And what about the fact that Buttler stays? Is that a fair decision?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's still one of the best white ball batters in the world. He's got the respect of all of the team. And I think that, you know, he's led the side to a T20 World Cup over in Australia. So I think there's that aspect to it as well. One thing wasn't working. Do you change both and try to completely sweep aside all and start on a blank piece of paper? Or do you actually keep some consistency? I still think when you write down your best one-day international side, Jos Buttler is at the top of it. And so he's got the experience of captaining. He knows conditions where the next ICC events are going to be happening. So you've got the Champions Trophy in next year in 2025. You've got a T20 World Cup in 2026, and that's over in India, and a One-Day International World Cup in 2027 over in South Africa. So I think that's not. I don't think him remaining as captain is a surprise that much.
And names already being linked with taking over the role. Mike Hussey, Kumar Sangakkara, Andrew Flintoff, all being linked at the moment. What kind of head coach do they need to be looking at? Any preferences of those three names that I've mentioned?
It's an interesting one, Joe, because you look at the way that the men's test coach was arrived in Brendan McCullum. Now, here was someone who was sort of plucked out of the ether, really. He'd got a little bit of experience in coaching before, but not a huge amount. And they wanted to change the dynamic of the way that they play Test cricket. And along with Ben Stokes, they have managed to overturn that. So don't be surprised. Andrew Flintoff has been mentioned. Him and Rob Key are very good pals. Is this 100 an audition? He's the head coach here at the Northern Superchargers. And what they do have is a little bit of time, Joe. They've got the 3 T20s and 5 one-day internationals. At the back end of the summer, Marcus Trescothick is going to look after the side then. So they do have a little bit of time. So is this 100 potentially an audition for the likes of Flintoff or Mike Hussey? You know, Owen Morgan has already said on Sky Sports Cricket, he doesn't want it. The job isn't for him. So distancing himself, he's actually turned around and said no. So the type of coach they need is someone who has attuned with the modern game and the way that it is played now, I think in alignment with the way that the players want to play, and Jos Buttler especially. So I think someone with a lot of energy, a lot of ideas, out-of-the-box thinking. They always like that. So it'll be an interesting one as to who they pick, but do not be surprised if they actually select someone who hasn't got, much like Andrew Flintoff, a huge amount of coaching experience.